Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. This is the month of July, and we are going to go into the introduction to our topic for the month in a little bit more depth than your quick preview. Victoria?
Alrighty, so we're tackling character, but we're looking at it as a tool of narrative convention. So what does that mean? All that means is we're looking at different ways that you can build and position a character so that they become either a driver or an artifact in your story. Now, if you have my book, Zettelkasten for Fiction Writers, and you've made it all the way through to page 189, I give you an example of using a continuum for a character in regards to a villain or an evil character. So on that continuum, on one side, you have just kind of a morally gray person, somebody who's just not completely evil, not totally vindictive. They've just got some problems that make them a little questionable. So you know they're not a good guy. Over on the other side of the continuum, you've got the Terminator. You've got that unstoppable, baddest of bad villain guys, and he's the one that your good guys are fighting. And then, of course, across the middle, that's your continuum, where you can stick in little things that give your reader clues as to where this villain person falls. So if we break that down in terms of our protagonist, here's what we're going to do. Think of it this way. We're going to rely on the work of one Virginia Woolf for this exercise. So Woolf wrote an amazing essay about Mrs. Brown. Now, Mrs. Brown is exactly what it sounds like. Mrs. Brown is your everyday everywoman, as William Faulkner would say. It's your everyman. It could be anyone, but it's somebody that we all know. Woolf describes this person as the lady standing in line in the grocery store. We all know who she is. We can step into her life, feel her feelings, experience her experiences, and share those on the page because it's so very relatable at the most basic level. So for your continuum, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about Mrs. Brown on one side. So Mrs. Brown is your most basic fundamental. We can all identify with this very simple, normal person. They have no superpowers. They have nothing remarkable or super characteristic about them. They're just your super basic, nice person. In the middle, let's position somebody that we call Miss Middleton. Miss Middleton can go either way, right? She's not Mrs. Brown's most basic fundamental character. Miss Middleton has some flavor. Maybe she's a little eccentric. Maybe she's got a little bit of a past or a backstory. Maybe she's got the potential that she's considering making a decision or a choice that's going to rocket her off in a totally different direction. So Miss Middleton is kind of hanging in the balance. It's that character that could go either way. Now, I suspect one Miss Kathleen Spracklen has a few things to say about how to toggle those character traits around so that Miss Middleton spins off in a different direction, but we'll put a pin in that for later. So who do we have over here? Well, this is who I like to call Miss Fantasia. Now, this person is way out there. This character has got all kinds of crazy things going on. Maybe they do have superpowers. Maybe they're leaning towards doing something villainous or bad. Maybe they have other kinds of things going on. If you're writing fantasy, holy moly, they could have all kinds of crazy characteristics and things happening. Certainly not Mrs. Brown, and way many ticks off from Mrs. Middleton. So now that you've positioned those three types of characters on the continuum, this is where it gets fun. Start thinking about, how do I move each of those characters through the narrative of a story? Well, I'm not going to give away too much because we're going to talk more about this in next week's episode. But for now, just start thinking about, if I have someone who's my most basic, someone who's in the middle that could kind of toggle around, and someone who's way out here crazy, how might I move them through a story? If you just pose that question to your writer self and maybe do a little drafting or note taking, you're going to start to see ways that you could challenge and poke those characters and move them around. So next time we'll go deeper into this, but I'm going to leave you now with that continuum of three to think about. Kathleen?
Okay, wow, do I ever love that? Because we, of course, talk about the character profile diagram which is for any given character trait, how aware is your character of that trait? If it's in the pinnacle, he's not aware of it at all. If it's in the base, it's just a part of who he is. When it's in the rudder, he's making decisions based on it and he's well aware of it. This is another complete continuum of its own. It's like if the circle is on the page, this pops off the page. And it's like, how intensely is your character who he is? Okay, he's in a rudder. How majorly ruddery is he? I mean, that is so incredible to think of that other dimension of intensity for your character. Bravo. Thank you, Victoria. I just love it. Well, we're talking about the character trait of generosity. And this is the episode where we talk about, well, what does generosity mean? Well, that's very nice because generosity is one of those delightful character traits where it means just exactly what you think it means. A person who's giving and sharing and open and is just ready to give you the shirt right off their back if they're almost too generous. It means what we think it means. Isn't that wonderful to have another one of those character traits that we don't have to get all picky about it? Or do we? Because now we have to distinguish it from the other character traits that are very like it. Think about, for example, the one we just talked about last month, which was gratitude. If a person feels gratitude for the goodness that they've been given, they're very likely to want to pass it on, to return, of course, to the person who gave it, but also to be generous likewise to other people, to generate gratitude in them because isn't this a world where we all do that? And that's exactly true. It's the other side of gratitude. Oh, I'm thankful. Oh, look at that person. They were such a good example for me. I want to be that person for the next person. So when you turn that gratitude on and use the person who is generous as a role model for you, then your gratitude can easily become generosity. But you can see that that's the giving back. That's the returning, being like the one that gave you something to be generous with. You can see that it is a different character trait because we're using the other person as a role model. And when we take that role on of being generous, we've adopted that character trait for ourselves. There's even more to be teased out. Because what about the character trait of kindness? The reason why you felt gratitude was the kindness that was done for you by this generous person. So where are we with kindness and generosity? What's the difference there? Well, generosity is the spirit. It's the readiness to have kindness. Kindness is when that person needs this. I'm going to do that for this person. It's you see what that person needs and you act on it. That's kindness. But if you just have a general propensity to help where help is needed, to be out there for other people, that's generosity. So generosity is the spirit, it's the willingness. And we're going to go one more level deeper to get pinpoint what generosity means. See, I told you it wasn't going to be exactly like what you think it means because there's one other deeper layer yet. Generosity has to do with how tightly do you hold on to that which is yours, mine. You see that? Picture a 3-year-old. It's a birthday party for the 3-year-old, and all the cousins are over, and the 3-year-old gets a gift, and oh, how nice. And he gets another gift. Oh, how nice. And then one of his cousins comes along and wants to play with the first gift. No, mine, no. The child is too young to understand generosity. But we can spot the lack of it so easily in a child who's not at the developmental level yet to understand generosity because it has so much to do with, ooh, how tightly. I need this. I need to keep this. Are you using it anymore? No, but I'm not going to give it away. Do you think you'll ever use it again? No, but I'm not going to give it away. Aha. See, it's a spirit, but it's a spirit that comes from something. It comes from a mentality that says there's only so much out there. And if I let go of what I've already got, I might be deficient in the future. I better look out for me. Of course, you got to bring in prudence because there is the guy that'll give you the shirt off his back, and then his wife has got to try to find another one to replace it. And he shouldn't have given you the shirt off his back. So you have to be a little bit careful there as well. But bear in mind The generosity is a spirit of loving, of giving in a way that you're just ready to share the things that you've got. But you can't have that willingness unless you have a sense that there's enough there to be shared. So there's a trust factor in that as well. Okay, Victoria, what would you like to add?
Whew, this was a doozy. It's so fun that no matter how we slice up these different topics, you always find ways that there's crossover. That's why character and structure, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Nobody can say which one came first because they're so intermingled and they depend on each other so deeply for great stories. I mean, it's so exciting to see all the different ways that you can combine and recombine these things. Pretty cool stuff. But since Kathleen is in the kind of coming together library, if people wanted to find us, I've got the note card. Kathleen, where would they find us?
They would find us at LiLLiPub.org. It's where we hang out when we aren't on YouTube land or aren't unpacking boxes. And you can find us on LiLLiPub.org. We share our writing, and we have a writing group that meets every Saturday. So you can produce your writing, post it, and get a critique, a private lesson from Victoria, a community lesson from your fellow writers. Where on earth can you get that kind of help in a group that only costs $8 a month? If we charged $800 a year, it would still be a bargain. So come on over to
Beautiful.
lillypub.org. See you there. Bye bye.